What is the biblical basis for a place of worship? In John chapter 4 verse 20, the Samaritan woman mentioned that the Samaritans worship God in Mount Gerizim, while the Jews worship in Jerusalem. Jesus responded in verse 22, saying that the Samaritans worship what they do not know, while the Jews know what they worship, for salvation comes from the Jews. What did Jesus mean by this? When Israel was on their way to the promised land after their exodus from Egypt, God instructed them in Deuteronomy chapter 12 not to worship Him as the other nations did by worshiping idols on high mountains, hills, and under trees. In verse 5, God tells Israel that they must worship in the place He chooses among their tribes. Later on, in 1 Kings chapter 11 verse 36, it becomes clear that this place is Jerusalem. In Deuteronomy chapter 12 verse 8, God commands that worship must not be according to a personal preferences or what seems right in one's own eyes. Verse 13 and verse 14 further reinforces this. The people were not to offer burnt offerings in any places they saw fit, but only in the place where God placed His name. From these instructions, Jesus was teaching the Samaritan woman in John chapter 4 verse 20 to verse 24 that the time had come when worship would no longer be tied to a specific location, such as a mountain or a city of Jerusalem. Since God is spirit, He must be worshipped in spirit and in truth. This worship is not confined to a place, but is rather a surrendered life lived in communion with the indwelling Holy Spirit. This is why in 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 16 to 17 tells us that we are the temple of God and that His Spirit dwells in us. If anyone defiles God's temple, they will face destruction, for God's temple is holy, and we are that temple. Like and subscribe for more 2-minute biblical rebuttals.